Yo, this is SKFC back here today with another video. And I'm going to be very honest, guys. I did not plan on making a video today, but today has been very eventful. So eventful, in fact, I might actually make another video, but I'm definitely making this one. And the big news today, for everyone that's not a Man United fan, unfortunately, sadly, inevitably, Man United have finally gotten rid of this bald fraud. It only took a year more than it should have, but it happened. And honestly, today we're just going to talk about just how bad were Man United under this guy. So obviously, right now, as you can see, they're currently 14th in the league, have the 17th most goals in the league. Their defense is slightly above average at the seventh best. They have only won one of their last 5 matches, and they've only won 3 matches this entire season. And it's just so funny because when you look at, how well this guy's tenure started, people really thought he was about to do something. But even back then, there was a couple like results and trends that would would have been worrying if you were paying attention. And I don't think a lot of people, gave it the respect that they should have. So, obviously, Man United finished second in that season. And the thing that jumps out to me the most, if I could pull this up, let's see if I can pull up the table from 2 years ago. I don't think I'm able to, but that's fine. I will. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to share this tab instead. I could pull up the table from 2 years ago. So the first thing that should jump out to anyone is this right here: 58 goals, which for a club that finished second, that's a very small amount of goals. And granted, their XG says that they underperformed by like 13. So fair enough, like they probably could have scored more. But again, that is a worrying sign because under this guy, they never ever broke 60 goals, or at least broke past 60 goals. Because I think the year after, it was, what was it for Manchester United? It was 58 again. Oh, sorry, 57 actually last year. And obviously, he built up so much goodwill on this first year that people were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. But even when you look at their XG, it says that they finished nearly 9 points higher than they should have. So even according to the stats, this guy was never as good as his only good season would indicate. And it gets even more tricky than that. So now we're going to look at how his record stacks to every other prem manager that's come to United. And amongst all of Manchester United's managers during the Premier League era, he has the third, or I guess the fourth worst, winning percentage. But like he's not much better than um managers that were maligned like Van Gaal or Moyes or Solskjaer. And the main difference that he had compared to all of these managers, with the exception of maybe Mourinho in his first season, was that he was properly backed. This guy was properly backed. The players that he wanted, he all of them in. It's not even as if the board didn't support, what he wanted to do. And none of his players have worked out. Right? With the power of actually having a supportive board, he still wasn't able to produce anything that was significantly better than all of the managers that people have complained about didn't get us in the first place. So now what we're looking at is a list of the notable players that Ten Hag had brought in. So, I mean, we look at Antony. He's a failure. He's a garbage player who lacks the physicality or the speed to properly make it in this league. And for as bad as he is, Ten Hag didn't even set him up to succeed. Like, you know, you have a player that is physically limited, and you know that at Ajax, he worked best with a fullback that overlapped. And yet, at Man United, when you bring him here, the fullbacks that you have for him are Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's one of the worst offensive fullbacks you could have for a top team, at least. You bring in a Diego Dalot, who's a fullback that inverts. So it's like you set that man up for failure, and he was never even good enough to warrant that fee in the first place. Hoyland, always injured. Sure, he's a decent striker in terms of ball striking, but poor link-up play, questionable IQ, and like I just said, he's never on the field anyway. Casemiro, oh my goodness, Casemiro, what have they done to you, bro? The dude's only 32, and you would think he's 38 from the way he plays. You brought in a DM who was on his last legs, and then you have him cover so much space like he's 25, and then you're surprised when it doesn't work out. Mason Mount never played. Euro, the jury's out on him. Obviously, he got injured. It is what it is. Martinez, injured. Onana. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he's that bad. Outside of the first couple of months last season, I think he's been okay. Ugarte, crap. Delit, injured. Xerxes, mid. Malacia, injured. And then Maserati, I think he's okay. So out of all of his transfers, none of them have succeeded. So he shows a complete poor understanding of talent ID. And it makes it even more egregious because he managed players like Gravenberch and Kudus on his team. And you're telling me that, with that being said, the players that you decided to bring in from Ajax were Antony and Martinez and Malacia. Oh, well, I guess Malacia is from Feyenoord, so excuse me on that one. But you saw these players play, and those are the players you decide to bring over. So ultimately, the point that we're trying to make here is that he brought this on himself. And if we're back to this chart again, for as bad as Manchester United were last year, they overperformed by 15 points. I don't think there are words to describe how egregious that is. So, according to the stats last year, Manchester United should have been 14th on the table. Sorry, 15th on the table. That's my apologies. That was the level of Ten Hag's coaching last year, was that Manchester United should have been 15th in the league, below the likes of Fulham and Nottingham Forest. That's egregious. That's egregious for the money that was spent. That's egregious for the teams that were expected to be above them. And it's egregious for the support that he got, even with the players that he got when he first initially got there. And granted, now this has to say that maybe he deserves to be a little bit better off this season. But still, 13 points is just not of the level if you're Manchester United and you spent all this money. And the last thing I really want to look at is this. So this is a table pretty much documenting his entire tenure in the Premier League. So obviously you see here the top 4 teams since he's been here were, City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa. That makes sense. All those teams make sense. And the interesting thing to note is that Aston Villa are above them. And the reason why I bring that up is because this includes the disastrous tenure that Steven Gerrard had before Unai Emery took over at Aston Villa. So even with that, they're above them. Newcastle United has been a team that's been decimated by injuries for the last 2 seasons, only 3 points behind. Tottenham literally gutted their entire team, and they're only 8 points, 7 points behind. Sorry, it's egregious. And then again, this goal tally sticks out to me. Out of every team in the top 9, sorry, every team in the top 10, actually, the worst goals scored out of every team in the top 10 in this time period. It is what it is. It is what it is. He got what was coming. They've been in poor form for the last year, year and a couple months. They broke their own worst start to a season record 2 years in a row. Honestly, the only thing that I don't understand is why they didn't do this sooner. I know they didn't want to pay out the 17 mil for the PSR, but you ended up just doing it anyway. So you might as well have just done it in the summer. But it'll be interesting to see who they bring in. I know there's news of them bringing the guy from Sporting Lisbon, Amarin, and so it will be interesting to see if they're able to do that. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully they bring in Gareth Southgate, some crap like that. But I just wanted to make a video on it because, I mean, how could you not? Anyway, thanks for watching to the end. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and remember to have a good